Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad and Ray are here. We have a special guest. This has been like 2 months in the making, so apologies to our guest. It's my show, so it's my fault, right? We will introduce them in a minute, and what a good day, Ray, to have this particular guest on, with the return of Aho Teravainen.
Yes.
So I clearly am sick, but
Yeah.
how are things up in the Great White North?
In the Great White North, well, it's been cold. I'll tell you that much. We've had a little bit of a cold snap, a little bit of snow, which won't stay long. It's Calgary. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, and that's pretty much the way it is for us. But it's been great, and there's been a lot of wonderful things with this team that take your mind off of the weather. And there's lots of wonderful things about this podcast that take your mind off the weather as well. We've had some great information that, at the end of the show, we'll touch on as far as statistically speaking, what the podcast has been able to do, to reach, and the fact that we have so many great listeners that have been joining us and are ready to make contributions as well. But before we do all of that, we always like to bring in the guests. The guests make the Storm Cellar better. And today, and I'm really hoping I get this right. I got it right beforehand. I'm going to try to get it right this time. Kerttu Raanta Valkama. Sorry. Is that close enough, Kerttu?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Okay. You know what? I've got to work. You would think a guy that cheers for a team that has so many awesome Finnish players in its history and right now that I would be able to almost speak it, but it's not there yet. I've got to keep trying. Anyway, Kerttu, we're so delighted to have you on. And now here's the thing, what we always do right off the start is we need to hear how you became a Cane. Give us the origins. You're a Caniac. We won't call you you're one of the jerks like us, the bunch of jerks, the jokes that we always make. You certainly fit the mold there. We want to hear your whole story, favorite players, how it came about, what's your greatest moment. Lay it on us because we love having you on. So hit us with it.
Yeah, so I think I started to follow the NHL in general in 2016, and back then I followed pretty much like most Finnish players, like not so much team-wise, and I think it was 2018-19 season when I started to, I actually joined Twitter then, and I stumbled upon Kane's Twitter, and that was one of the main reasons why I became a fan, because the social media presence was awesome. Obviously, I knew Aho and Teuvo back then already, and it was easy to start to cheer on.
It absolutely is. The social media is a significant factor in this team. The best in sport, if you're asking me, and I know that sounds biased, but they are the best in sports because they just have a great presence.
Yeah, they do. And it was pretty easy, and obviously things started to like turn around more back then, and it was a fun team to watch and fun team to follow, and obviously then the playoff push in 2019 made everything like better, and I've been pretty much stuck ever since.
That's awesome. And I gotta say, a wee birdie told me that you made a huge sacrifice watching the Kings game last night, or in your case, very, very early in the morning. See, right now, you are immediately one of the best Hurricane fans ever because you're up at 5:30 in the morning to catch this contest. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was like I can't say I was pretty or very how do you say it, like I wasn't paying so as much
Right.
attention as I would in a normal time. But like, yeah, but like I'm a night owl too, so it
There
suits
you
well with
go.
my body
Yeah.
anyway.
We know when we had Laurel Wheeler, who is, well, I think of her as a Finn now, right? She's back in the States temporarily. Hi, Laurel. But she always laughed and said, she'd get up in the morning, but she can't really cheer because she's in an apartment. There's neighbors around, and so she can't yell and scream and do the
Yeah,
things she wants to do. So I think it's phenomenal. The folks that we've talked to from overseas who make these sacrifices to get up. I'm going to pick on Michelle, who went to bed after like the second period last night. Michelle, you got to do better. Come on,
You
Kertu's
got to
getting
come
up
in
at
strong.
5:30, sick, watching the game. Like, come on now.
And a shout out to
yeah, but
Big Ant too, who managed to stay through the whole game, which was another one. He was like, I can't believe I stayed up this long. This is craziness. Go ahead, Kertu.
yeah, I actually fell asleep after second period too. So
That's okay. That's okay. When it's 5:30 in the morning that you're gonna, that is dedication. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So 2000, now you kind of, as you mentioned, 2019 is kind of when you really locked into the team. What was it about the Canes that did it for you? Because I mean, that's when Rod kind of comes on board as the coach and things
yeah,
changed there a little bit, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was it that made you kind of lock in and say, wow, this is it?
well, I obviously I liked Aho and Teuvo before, and I mean I generally started to like all the players, and like and then it was like it's just a fun thing to watch, and obviously, and I love the different storm searches we were doing back then. It
Yes.
was like, yeah, it was funny, and generally it was like really funny and like uh easy thing to watch and cheer on. I think like most of the players are like very likable, and like it's a kind of like once you start to follow them, it kind of sucks you in,
Yeah.
and like yeah, and obviously like it started to be like more for just Finnish players, but at this point I'm pretty fond of most of the players anyway. So
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
me
awesome.
too.
And yeah, no question. And do you have a favorite?
uh, I would say Aho is still my favorite.
You know what? And I'm with you there too. In this there, and I'm going to heap humongous praise on him right now. And I don't know that I've ever voiced it this succinctly. To me, he is this generation. He's this generation's Ron Francis. And that means a lot to
That's
me
high praise
because
coming from you.
it is like, because he's Ron Francis is everything to me, and I watch him play night after night, and he is the consummate 200-foot player who is always trying to get better, who makes great assists, can put the puck in the net. He's the whole package. So I'm with you. Aho is it for me, but I have to tell you, I've always loved the Finns that have been on this team all the way back to like in the 90s and back into Hartford. Guys like Sami Kapanen, who who has a son in the league. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah,
long-term Finnish players. I love them. If it can't be Canada winning international competitions, I want Finland to win because I love the style of play. I love the effort, the grit that they have. But you're right about Aho. My goodness. Great choice. Great choice.
And
okay.
I got to say, I'm with Ray. When I watch international competitions now, uh, I usually pull for the USA, but not always. But Finland always seems to be like my second team in international competitions. I mean, even in so much of it is from the people that we've met and been able to talk to, Linnea, yourself now, Laurel Wheeler, and just such a great group of people, like great, like you said, attitudes, Ray, like the settled play, love the skating. Like that's the thing I always remember about Sammy Kapanen is another just beautiful skater, but gritty, but not like a toughie,
not dirty.
But, right. Not dirty, but willing to work. Just there's definitely a connection there. I feel like it's cool because we see the Hurricanes bringing Finns in to watch NHL hockey, and they're gravitating toward Finns, but I'm seeing us get something out of that too, if that makes sense, because it's really been a lot more fun when I watch international competition to things to have like another team that's like, oh yeah, like I hope they do well. It's kind of fun even when I see like the Finland Sweden games now and people post, I'm like, oh, like I hope they beat the Swedes, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I have no skin in the game. Like, oh my gosh.
So that's awesome. Aho, great selection. Kerttu, so we're gonna start taking a look at the past little week, and as Brad said so eloquently, what a change a week makes. We struggled so mightily in the middle of this season, and we are now, after last night / this morning for you, a 4-game win streak. And not just a 4-game win streak, looking pretty darn good too. It's like the team is back. You've been watching. Where do you think the change has come? This is just, is it they finally just started to catch on? Is it the gelling, the chemistry amongst everyone? Is it like, what do you think has brought this on?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I kind of think it was coming, like they were clearly trying, but sometimes it takes time the pieces to lock in together. Because like for example, at the Boston game, which like the effort was there, but then there was like obviously the reffing was awful in that game, but like but in general, I think it was that the people were like that it was coming there, and now it starts to catch on.
That was, and it's funny you picked that game in particular, because I don't know about you, Brad, but that looked to me really to be the turning point, especially because it came after that abysmal Arizona game, which I would certainly hope you didn't have to be up late for that one, because that's just unfair to you. That was awful to watch, and you want to purge that from your memory, or better yet, not even watch it. But you're right. You picked the game that I think was the turning point here, where they went into Boston and they played a terrific, solid game, and circumstances kind of stole that one from them. But Brad, Kerttu's on it. She knew where the turning point was. I don't know what you think, but
I agree. I think you get, first of all, the power play gets on the board during that Boston game. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They followed up the next night on the power play again. Okay, now you're feeling a little better. You go into Pittsburgh. That's a division opponent. You got to win that one. You come out. They get a point, but you get 2. Right? That's all that matters.
Yep.
You go into St. Louis. You drive Bennington bananas. Like he's looking. Oh. The Blues have had an 8-game win streak. I'm sorry, an 8-game losing streak and a 7-game win streak this season. And in my mind, it's all about Bennington. And
kind of is, isn't it?
For the first part of that game, you're like, oh, this is going to be good Bennington. Mm-hmm. And then there's 104 seconds of magic, and you can just see Bennington seething. Like I don't know what's up. Even last night, he punched a player going behind his net.
Yes.
Like I don't know what the problem is with the guy, but I really don't like him at all. And but you could see you had gotten to him, right? And then you're like, okay, like shut it down. They win 6-4. Jordan, can we talk about Jordan Stahl's deke on the open
Oh,
net?
Yeah.
man, oh man.
Like Jordan Stahl, you're not supposed to do that, man. You're not. That's not you. But that was a beauty.
He's got it in him, right?
And then last night they go up 2-0, and I messaged Ray, and I'm like, killer instinct. Now is the time. Like, put your foot on them. Like, take them out of this game.
Yep.
And they were able to do that last night. So, I texted
Yeah.
Ray, and I said, in Kerttu, I said, did they just miss Turbo? Like, have they just been like kind of depressed and in a malaise, and now Turbo's back? Like, oh, we can play hockey again. Like, Turbo's back, and they just come out flying. Unbelievable change from, we went from last show talking about them being 1-1-4 in their last 6, and now I would rephrase that and say, oh, they have points in their last 9 games.
Yeah,
in 9 out of 10. That
That's-
sounds a lot better.
it does. And I guess it's a reminder that the world is not lost if you are losing games in overtime. And a lot of people brought into question whether Carolina was legit even at this point, because we start into the season as one of the predominant favorites to win a Stanley Cup. We were in the mix, and then they started out great, but then that thing in the middle put a little bit of doubt in people's minds. But again, a 4-game winning streak kind of changes everything. If I could very quickly just circle back to the St. Louis game and say the best hit of the night was Jordan Stahl just drilling Binnington. And Billington thinking that he was going to put the check in and stuff, and he was just flattened, and it was great.
I laughed out loud. It hurt. It hurt a lot to laugh, but I laughed out loud.
It was
brilliant.
so funny.
It was great.
Yeah, because like Binnington is kind of like he seems like he wants to fight everybody, but actually he can take anyone.
No, he's all bark, no bite, right? Like that's really, and it's funny too. Brad will back me up on this. I tweeted him, I texted him and said, man, I'd sure like to see Kochetkov in net. And we've said it on the show against St. Louis, because if he wanted to try something, Kochetkov would have beat the defenseman into that zone to get a piece of Binnington. Like that. He wants to fight he'll fight anyone. He's just brash, and he's got confidence, and he's great, but he's on the good side of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he stays within himself until he's provoked, and then he'll go out and give you some, and then he'll get back to doing his job. I mean, he's great. He's great. But and what was unfortunate in that game was Raanta pulled. Let's touch on that just for a second, because Antti Raanta pulled at the end of the second period, and it was 3-3 at the time. So I don't think he looked soft on the goals necessarily, but was he injured? Was he like, what was the situation? And
yeah, he the Canes said that he had been cramping throughout the day.
Oh,
that's why he looked soft. And probably let in at least one that he shouldn't have. So it appears to have just been a cramping issue. So as far as I'm aware, he's good to go.
Yeah. That was my concern last year when they got Raanta and Andersen, that like these both goalies are very injury prone, and here we are.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Like everyone else, you can see it. It's plain as day, right? Those injury prone. It doesn't say that they're not. You're not saying that they're not great goaltenders, because they are. They're fantastic. I really approve. Like, they're number ones on most teams in this league. But boy, oh boy, the injuries, they just, they're not made of paper mache, but man, like it was great. Now we're going to keep moving on Statistics. Kerttu,
Yeah.
Brad will tell you that I don't pay a lot of attention to statistics, mostly because I find that you can go down the rabbit hole and it's minutia, right? Little tiny things and stuff, and that the stats are there, but they don't really tell the whole story. And very specifically, in some cases, they kind of tell the story with Slavin, with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, it doesn't tell the whole story with him. Last night, and I don't know which broadcast feed did you get? Did you get the Bally Sports Kerttu, or was it which one? Who was doing the broadcast for the game?
Yeah, it was the King's broadcast, I think. Usually
So
it's the home broadcast.
Yeah, and so you saw it the same way I did. I don't know. I'm sure you caught it. And I messaged Brad immediately and said, wow, we here love Slavin, and we have said over and over and over again, he is the best, most underrated defensive defenseman in the entire league. He is so steady. And last night,
Yes.
I don't pay attention to statistics, but one stood out for me last night, for him in particular. The LA Kings heaping praise, the broadcast team heaping praise on Slavin, pointing out that this season he is number one in takeaways. He has 40 takeaways in all of these games played. That just more proof of what we see with our eyes, where the statistics are there. I mean, we see Slavin is great, but here's a stat to prove it. Number one in takeaways. And those takeaways come at opportune times. I mean, we see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Then they threw another stat out there, and I found it and I took a snapshot of it. And I sent it to Brad, and it was amazing. They had 9 of them, that put the Hurricanes defense as number one in the league in all of these defensive.
I got it if you want it, Ray.
Fire away. Hit us with it.
Canes defense against, first in all these categories: shot attempts, shots on net, slot passes, offensive possession time, cycle changes, forecheck chances, quality chances, and expected goals against. That's pretty good defense, if you ask me.
Pretty great defense. Yeah. And the words out of their mouth was, something tells me they're okay. Like there was questions about the Canes. Yeah, something tells me that they'll be just fine. And it was a perfect statement, again, from LA broadcast team. They were honoring and respecting the team that they were facing that night. It's great. Are you big on stats, Kerttu?
Not really that much. Like I basically follow like the main stats, like basically the points and stuff, but not really much else.
Yeah. And that's kind of the way I am too. There's nothing wrong. That's kind of how I am too. All of those stats that Brad just listed off, I'm being perfectly honest, I've watched this game for for about 48 years, 49 years. And I've never known those stats even existed, that they're keeping track of them. Like let alone, you know what I mean? When they hit me with all those things, I was like, wow, yeah, maybe we are pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, we're okay. Thanks for sharing those stats, guys. My goodness.
In the defense of both of you, because I like looking at numbers, but I've always said numbers don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Never is that statement truer than when I look at Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yes.
Because if you look at his points, if you just look at his stats, other face-offs, he's done a very good job. But if you just look at the hard numbers on KK, you think he's not a second-line center. And realistically, I get the argument, right? A second-line center needs to put up points, and he is not doing that. But Necas and Svechnikov don't have all the points they have without KK being the defensive minded guy, the guy who's back when the defensemen jump in. He's not seeing his production turn into assist numbers, but he's working. And I got into a little back and forth yesterday, and I said, worst case, let's say the points never come. He was a 3rd overall pick, but let's say he never lives up to that hype, and that's a lot of pressure. For sure, he could replace Jordan Staal when Jordan Staal retires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At $4.8 million a year, he'd be $1.2 million cheaper than Staal.
That's all right. That's great. And the fact that, it's one thing that I saw, and when you're watching the game and you're following the puck, but lots of times when you get to a game and you watch them play and you can see everything, as I had the chance to do, when they were in Calgary, you could see KK, he was providing, creating space for his line mates to actually work their magic. And that means something, like, not only was he paying attention to his defensive responsibilities, but he's finding ways to make space, create opportunity for others. And that's meaningful. That's meaningful,
Yeah.
especially for guys like Svetch and Natchez, who I think now we can officially call our snipers. My goodness, the goals that they're putting in on a nightly basis. Natchez, that goal last night was beautiful and just perfect form, everything. It was fantastic.
I gotta laugh. Did you rewatch this Svetch goal really, really closely? It was clearly a pass, and it went off the defender and I just was chuckling. I'm like, a game is going well when you fail upwards.
Yeah,
is the expression we use.
Failing upwards.
You fail to complete the pass, and the puck hits the defender and goes in, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah, I meant to do that. No, it's like, yeah, he was looking for Turbo, who is having a great game, and we're gonna keep getting back to him for sure. But, or do you want to talk about it now? Because he was back last night for the first time. Let's talk about it now. Teuvo Teravainen, what do you think? How much better does he make this team?
A lot.
He's
like I think it was the one Finnish hockey guy who does the studios here in Finland for the NHL, that you can put Turbo basically anywhere and he fixes whatever is the problem.
Yeah, he's like the crazy glue or the duct tape. You know what I mean? You need to fix something or whatever. He'll be able to fix it. Isn't that something? And you really notice the difference in the team last night. Turbo, there was one play, I think it was in the second period, where he showed puck handling skills like he could have stick handled his way out of a phone booth. He was surrounded by players, and they were all after him, and he was dipping and dangling, and it was magnificent.
Score on that play.
He did everything but score, and it was like, man, that is so nice to see. We sure needed that. And on the penalty kill as well, that's another thing. The penalty kill, even though they gave up a goal last night, there were times that I saw him make some astounding plays that would have stopped grade A chances. And he's always had that awareness and that ability on the penalty kill. He's always had that. So I think that's an automatic fix to part of our special teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's he's definitely up there. Like he almost, I think he had a little bit a more rough time before he went to injury. Maybe he had something lingering, but now when he came back, he's like, woo.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
You did.
Seeing him last night, and I just wondering because he's been so consistently good, especially with Aho, the two of them together for years now, that when he didn't, when at first it was like, okay, we slumping a little. It's a new season. And then it kind of went on. And now I think I agree with you. Was something just lingering that he just wasn't, has he just not been, I mean, it's like Martinook, right? Martinook,
Yeah.
I think this is Martinook's first injury-free period with the Canes, and now we're really seeing what he can do. And I just wonder if maybe if Teuvo, if he just, wasn't 100% to start the season, and he was just working through it and getting through it. And now he, they said, look, just, take the time off, get rest, come back 100%. We need you. And I thought he looked fantastic, or fantastic.
Well played. Nicely done. Nicely done. I saw what you did there. Yeah, Turbo, how many times, Brad, have I called him the straw that stirs the drink? You know what I mean?
Many times, sir.
Yeah.
Many, many, many times. And I think that's the case. He was back, and this team looked fantastic, not only offensively, but defensively as well. They were suffocating the Kings last night. And the pressure that they put on, and the cycle to make sure that everyone was covered on the back when we were pressing, someone was defensively there. Like, we're mindful of every aspect of the game and are really, really playing the type of Canes hockey that we have grown to know and love. Let's just throw that out there. It's time for our fun segment. We like to do this, Kerttu. You know what? We're going to put you on the spot a little bit, but we always try to make it easy. It's time for the hurricane, tropical storm, tropical depression segment of the show, where we all kind of take a look at the team, either the players or certain aspects, anything about the hurricanes that fit into those mold. Do we have a true hurricane, the real force, the great stuff? Then there's the tropical storm that's right in the middle, like either on the right direction going up or coming down. Where are they at, right? And then there's the tropical depression, where we flat out, well, we sometimes put players or aspects on blast. And lately we've had a lot more depressions than we've had hurricane. We'll say
Been
that.
easy pickings in that area.
It has been. There was lots to choose from. So let's start with the hurricanes. Let's start with we all like to start good. Kerttu, what aspect or player do you think is the best thing going right now for the Hurricanes? What would you pick?
So that's really hard to choose the best thing. I'd say, well, I would definitely say that Netschas and Svechnikov are both doing really great. And well, Kochetkov has been amazing too. And well, obviously, Aho has just been himself.
Yeah.
And well, it was awesome to get Turbo like really back. But it's, I think that the general effort has been so much up if you compare to the last week. The whole team has just upped their game like so much.
That's a great call. That's a great call on that. Brad, hit us.
I thought about this a lot, and my initial reaction was to say Svechnikov, because he just looked, he dominated all three zones last night.
Mm-hmm.
He looked good against the Blues, but I'm going to go with Brent Burns.
Nice.
And the reason I'm going with Brent Burns is two things stick out to me. One is he has, I think it's 6 more points than the person he replaced, and he's a +3 and not a -12. So I think from that aspect, people were saying Burns is slow to adapt to our defense. He's made some mistakes, and he has. But he, I think, has made it's clear he is putting in the effort to become great in Carolina. And the reason I'm choosing him today is watching him against these West Coast teams that he is much, much more familiar with than the East Coast teams. You can just see how much more comfortable he is. He was a stud last night against the Kings.
Wasn't
And I'm
he?
sure that's familiarity, right? He played right down the road in San Jose. He's seen the Kings a bunch. He knows what they're going to do. When he did that dive, stick swing, puck knocking away
On
off
a
the
break.
breakaway
Oh,
and didn't take a penalty. That was, I mean, anybody could do that, but you're going to get a trip, I don't know, half the time.
yeah.
To do that, he was physical. Like I said, he's putting points in. I think he's got 4 goals and 14 assists, if I'm not mistaken. He's a +3. He's logging big minutes. He's doing all the things you could want him to do. And for those reasons, I think this is a good time to call out Brent Burns is just playing fantastic hockey.
Awesome. That's a great selection. Great selection. I couldn't agree with you more. It was like last night he had the playbook of the Kings. You know what I mean? It just seemed like he was in like a double agent or something. That's how good he was last night. It was fantastic. And more points too. They had 2 assists last night he was in on for the goals. I mean, come on now. Burns, what a great addition. I have a Hurricane, and I told Brad that we were going to do this segment today. Told him last night, texting him, dude, we got to get this segment in. And I've got dibs on this one particular guy for a Hurricane. I've got dibs. He's mine. You can't answer this one because it was going to shock and awe everyone, I think, a little bit, but really not shocking if you're watching. Jordan Martinook. He is my Hurricane. This segment, that man, first of all, the hat trick was glorious. His first hat trick since was it 2019 and Florida, 2018 in Florida?
11/23/2018 was his last multi-goal game against Florida, and
Which
it
was
happened
also
to be a hat trick.
Yeah, it happened to be a hat trick as well. Everything about his stepping into Nino's spot, everyone looked at us losing Nino on that third line, and there was panic because who's going to replace him? We don't have anyone to replace him. We either have to sign him or find someone that's just like Nino. And I'm like, guys, I think the natural fit here is Martinook. And he has developed a chemistry, a synergy with both Stahl and Fost that is just, he is magic right now. He is on fire. He's got how many goals now? I think he's up to 6 or 7 already. This is not
7 at least, I think.
Yeah. And he doesn't like the pass. There was a pass he was in on the first goal against the Kings. That pass, that sauce was just tasty. I eat that up all day. What a beautiful pass right to the tape. It was a glorious pass. And he's been out, like, he's not just a hype guy.
Yeah.
He's not just a hype guy. He's playing. And he's showing everyone the skill that he has. And he's tenacious. I love everything about him. And if I could do it, I would hype him the way he hypes Svetch. You know what I mean? Maybe I might try. Should I try it?
Yeah, go for it.
Mr. That's terrible.
The dogs in my neighborhood are all
yeah,
my
I
house.
know everyone. Yeah, my dog's running in. What the heck was that? Jordan Martinook, Hurricane through and through. First time we've ever called him as such, and most deserved. Most deserved. Kerttu, now we move to the tropical storm. Something that's okay, not quite right, not quite perfect. Is there a player that fits that mold for you right now? Where I going in either direction too, because it's just somewhere in the middle who's okay, but you've got concerns. Do you have anything like that for us? And it could be an aspect of the game as well.
Well, I didn't really see last game, but overall, I think the scoring itself has been a little bit like a problem. Well, it definitely wasn't last night, that one, but like, yeah, it's definitely getting better. But I would still like us to like shoot more and stop being so pretty.
Yeah, that's a great call. The overall offense, yeah.
I said online, I said, if I ever have a Hurricanes cover band that just does like hockey songs, I'm going to call it One Too Many.
One too many. There you go. Yeah.
Because is it one too many passes again? Is it too many men again? Is it one too many stick infractions again? But
yeah, good call. Good call. Great call on that one. Brad, who or what is your tropical storm?
I'm going to give it to the power play because I don't want to rehash how bad it's been. But since Boston, 33%, 67%. Goose-egg in Pittsburgh, 100% in St. Louis.
Yep.
33% last night. The power play is not dominating, but those are very solid numbers. I mean,
and trending in the right direction.
Trending in the right direction.
How quick did we? I mean, the whole special teams was a depression the last time we did this, and now you accurately portray it's definitely trending in the right direction for us. We're seeing it come around, no question.
We definitely said, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I think I made the comment and said, special teams, we don't have to be top 5 in special teams to compete, but you do need to be in the top half.
Yep.
The penalty kill has become a top 15, 16, I think, in the league. I think they're 17 right now. They're just short of 78%, or just around 70%. I'm okay with that. You're getting back up into the middling area and not at the bottom. Mm-hmm. They're still 27th out of 32 on the power play, but they're not 31st anymore.
Nope.
That's progress, right? All of us who did mediocre in school at times know it's easy to drop that grade. It's really hard to bring it back up. So now they got the work to do, but they're putting in the work, and you could see it on the ice. They're moving a lot more. Stefan Noesen doesn't get enough credit. I keep saying Noesen. Stefan Noesen gets enough credit. Does not get enough credit.
He doesn't.
Being a net foot presence and moving his body around. I still see guys. I'm going to say Svechnikov is one who tends to kind of linger when he's down there instead of moving. And I think if they can just keep their feet moving, that the power play is going to be just fine.
Yeah, no more 3 in the key, Fetch. Huh? No more 3 in the key. There's my cross-pollination to basketball again coming through. If I had to pick a tropical storm, and there's lots of things there, I would have immediately said Turbo coming back is the tropical storm, just based on the way he played last night alone. But I'm going with Seth Jarvis, and he is trending in the right direction too. Playing last night, he made a lot of, first of all, in on a goal, great passes on the Aho goal, which was the goal of the night for me. But it started with Jarvis, who gained entry and made a great initial pass to Natchez, and then drove the net, taking the defender with him and freeing up the space for Aho to drive the net. And Natchez just dropped it right on his tape beautifully. And with all, I mean, it was fantastic. I'm talking about everyone but Jarvis in this goal. But the thing is, it's Jarvis who initiated it. He made another beautiful between the legs, behind the back pass in the third period, where Aho almost scored again, where he tried to wait him out so long. That pass from behind the net, and he just backhanded it. No look. Those are great. I mean, that just signifies he knows what he's a playmaker. He is a playmaker, and he knows where people will be, and he's putting those passes into great spots. I'm picking Seth Jarvis. he's trending on the way up too. He struggled a little bit, but he's getting there. And I like seeing where he's going. Seth Jarvis, you indeed, sir. Tropical storm. Now, Kerttu, this is always the most difficult part. No one likes to besmirch their own team, but we here in the Storm Cellar are realists. We don't mind calling out the things that we need to see that have to be better, that have been either really bad or just need to, they're just not even resembling a hurricane right now. I'm going to ask you, I think if I'm just going to put this out there, if we had one, it would be a unanimous selection, but I'm going to throw it at you. Kerttu, tropical depression. Who's not carrying the load? Who's not doing their job? What is not working? Fire away.
It is hard. Well, I would certainly love that our goalies would stop getting hurt all the time. Then overall, I would say, well, last night was pretty okay, but we still take too many penalties. That it would be nice to stay out of the box.
Yeah, good call. You're right, and it's kind of what Brad alluded to with the one too many. The stick penalties. There's too many of those stick penalties in the offensive zone, isn't there? Like I think that's where the most of the penalties are. Just not disciplined enough, I guess. Would you? Is that? I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth. Is that?
Yeah, that's like there's penalties you have to take or that are like smarter to take, but like usually the offensive zone penalties are so stupid.
Thank you. You are saying, oh, look, we and we'll take this into post edit. Yeah, we all think it and we all say it. That's so accurate. So accurate. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Kerttu, that was beautiful. It was absolutely perfect. Brad, your tropical depression, I'm sure, is probably going to be the same as mine, but I'll let you go first.
I don't know. There are a couple issues, right?
Yeah.
Mine is going to be outside of Martinook.
Yeah.
We've got to see something out of the new guys. Chatfield has played defensively very well. I'm waiting for him to break through. Obviously the goal the other night wasn't a count. The net was off the moorings. Captain America. He looked so sad in the box last night. Like how do you put Jack Drury in a box? Did you see how sad he looked? Like a lost puppy.
Yeah, that was like,
can't do that to the guy.
Yeah, poor.
But those guys, Statsny, Stepan, that fourth line.
Yeah.
It's good to have energy. It's good to have grit. And I'm not saying they're doing a bad job in those areas, but at some point, we need some score now, boys. Piotr's kept you in every single game. I mean, the kid's been phenomenal, but if you don't put goals in, we're in trouble, because if it's going to just be Aho, Svechnikov, and Nate just scoring goals with the occasional Martinook hat trick, that's not a recipe for playoff success.
Sure
isn't.
isn't.
Gonna work.
It sure isn't. And Brad, you've mentioned his name. It's the low-hanging fruit selection for tropical depression. I was very excited and happy when Statsny was added to the team, because I knew he would be a great addition. That would be very the experience that he had. He was a steady player, reliable, always able to put in a few points and stuff like that. But he has been nearly invisible in every game that I've watched. And I'm trying to figure out where. It's like I want to put out an all points bulletin out. Have you seen Paul Statsny? If you find him, please send him to Raleigh, because we need him here to help make this whole thing complete. He's missing, and he may not be making huge mistakes that are costing goals. So I want to give him a little bit of credit. He's not terrible, but he's not the Statsny that we put out for.
Yes,
We need more from
definitely.
him, and I think he might be the key to bringing the fourth line in and making greater contributions. If he steps up his game, I think that fourth line becomes much more of a factor.
Yeah,
And yeah.
I remember it was back in 2018. I think I was following. I think I was following Winnipeg pretty quite closely that time, and Statsny was there, or he was traded then, and he was awesome. For example,
Yeah.
with Line. So like I know he's not the same guy anymore, but I definitely waited more than what we are getting now.
Kerttu, that's a perfect
I agree.
analysis. Yeah, I can't agree with you more.
He needs to be real quick. He needs to be get back to being a 40-point guy. Yep. And right now he's got 5, goals, 5 assists, and we can go through. There are a couple of guys in the same situation. I'm not. I guess I don't understand why. That's my biggest thing is, he's getting looks. He's missed a couple open chances. He's had a little bad puck luck, but at some point, that those things should even out for guys. So
they absolutely should.
Yes.
There's someone his experience and his skill, and if we don't want it to besmirch him, we're not calling him a bum, but we just need more out of him, and that's really what that comes down to. Kerttu, you're a pro in that segment. We threw you into that segment, and you just knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much. Let's get to some good news. The tropical depressions depress me, oddly enough. Let's talk about some good news. The good news being something that Brad pointed out to me I wasn't aware of. Everyone's being cloak and dagger concerning his status and what's actually wrong. But Anderson, Freddie, he's skating again, which is good news, right? Like
really
the goaltending, yeah, it's awesome news, but it does cause situational problems when he comes back. Brad, you brought this up, and so I'm teeing it up for you. You could take this one out of the yard. What are we thinking here?
Sure. I mean, once Anderson is back, you have honestly your most consistent best goaltender in Pyotr Kochetkov.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Anderson, who is a guy you want to be the starter because of the experience, because of how good he can be. His ceiling is so high when he is in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unreal. And you have Raanta, who has been very good, but not great. He seems to, I feel like, he gives up half a goal a game. That's just kind of shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But when Anderson comes back, you have a decision to make about who's going to be in net. I don't see Rod keeping 3 goalies on the roster.
Yeah.
Piotr's the natural to go down, right?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Kerttu. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's, the big thing with Pyotr in my mind is he can't ride the bench. He's young. He needs to see live shots. That's my big thing.
I definitely agree with you. It's like with Raanta, like I've been following him more or less like ever since he played for the Finnish national team in, I think it was 2013 or something. And he's got the skill to be the starter. But if he plays more than 2 games in a row, he's going to get injured.
Mm.
And that can't be a starter.
No.
Right. And we saw that in the playoffs last year. He
Yes.
more than capable of playing that position. But
yeah.
But then they had to bring Pyotr into the mix just to give him that time off and let him rest, because injured goaltender is never a good thing.
Yeah.
It's
like
go ahead, Kerttu.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's part of the it's unfortunately for us, it's part of being the actually great goaltender is like staying healthy. Like as an example, if you talk about, for example, Vasilevsky, that guy can play 70 games in a regular season, and still like go all the way to the playoffs.
Mhm.
And I mean, he has a reputation that if he says to the coach that he is playing, then he's playing.
Yep.
Like, and he's basically never injured. So like that's the kind of, I don't say goalies can never get injured, but like that's the more what you need from your starter than that they are injured every fifth game.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? There's really not really a lot more to say after that. Honestly, like you covered it all. You said it all. I guess my only contribution to this discussion is the Hurricanes, and we've said this before, are in an enviable position that we have 3 great goaltenders in our lineup that are absolutely number one. They can be number one talent and win us games and make big saves when we need it. But with Freddie coming back, the whole future of Kochetkov, who signed a 4-year deal, no, 4-year extension at
Yes.
$2 million each, right?
Yes, sir.
So he just signed that, and you reward him with the contract and the money. You also want to make sure, like Brad said, he's got to keep seeing live pucks. And if he's going to be in a situation where he spends every third night, I can't see them going, okay, we're all going to take turns sitting in the press box. You know what I mean? Tonight it's Freddie.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
no.
next game is Raanta. Next game is Kochetkov. And we're going to, you can't do that. There's no, you can't get that steady confidence and growing. You know what I mean? You put up a great number, you deserve to keep playing. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way that
Yes.
is. Going to the press box just to go to the press box is a bad idea. I just really don't know if we like the idea of sending Piotr back to Chicago at all. He's been great. And so what does this mean now? Do we trade? Do we make a trade now at the what?
I don't think so, Ray, for 2 reasons. One is both Raanta and Anderson now have injury histories, recent injury histories.
Yeah.
So at any time, one of those guys could go down. So I think realistically, Piotr goes back down to the Wolves. He sees time. They bring him up as they can and let him know, like, this isn't a you thing. This is a space issue.
Yeah.
You know, if this was just a roster spot, we just give it to you. But we want you to be developing and getting better. And in front of that soft Chicago D, sorry, Wolves fans, he's going to face the shots down there.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine they would trade a goaltender out now because there is nothing in the pipeline that's ready for NHL action beyond Piotr.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to put you both on the spot, as I've been known to do in the past, and I apologize in advance. At the end of this season, both Anderson and Raanta are free agents. I believe that's correct. Who
Yep.
of those two do we let go, and who do we bring in? Or do we bring either of them in and go a different direction with Kochetkov taking the lead role?
I would say it's really hard to say, but especially considering all the injuries. But like, I think I would keep Anderson, because like when he's healthy, he's more consistent than Raanta. So like I wouldn't keep both of them, but I think I would keep Anderson out of those two.
Kerttu, yeah, you're so brave. I don't know if honestly, because going against another Finnish player, that has to be hard. And you know what? And I'm saying that, and I don't mean it to be a joke. I'm legitimately calling you brave, because in those sessions and stuff, you think, oh, you know what? It's a fellow countryman, right? Like I want to see him continue to do well, but you broke it down to pure stats of what you see with your eyes. And that says what a great fan you are. You know what you're talking about. That's great.
Yeah, it's because like this definitely like when I started to follow NHL, it was definitely more like just following the Finns. But the more I get into the teams, it's like you start to think more what's best for the team, not like what's best for your countrymen.
Yeah.
And it's like it matters more what the team is gonna do than what the sim one player is gonna do.
Yeah, you know what, Brad? Stamp it right now. Kerttu is Caniac through and through. Love it.
I agree 100%.
Love it.
The team is bigger than any individual.
Who do you go with, Brad?
Being that they're the same age, as I recall.
They're pretty close, at least, I think.
I feel like they're both born in like 89. They're both babies compared to me and Ray. We're old. But I don't know, Ray. I think Anderson probably has to go. Purely contractual.
Mm-hmm.
Two things come to mind. One is any reason not to think that Piotr is your starter next year? I can't come up with one.
Right now, he's looking like a starter.
That means that between Anderson and Raanta, you're asking about which one of you is going to back up Piotr. I think Raanta already sees himself maybe in that 1B spot and is trying to earn his way to a 1A. I think Anderson sees himself as the guy, and to be like the 1B would maybe in his mind be half a step back, because like I said, between the two, his ceiling is higher. I don't know that he would want to be played back up to Piotr, for one. Money's two.
Yeah.
Although with the injuries, maybe money doesn't become a thing. But I think this is one of those times when this is going to be a coach GM thing. This is going to be Ron and Don deciding who is going to be the better fit, more so than who is the better player. I think whichever one of them is going to be okay with backing up Kochetkov, that's who you keep. Because I think money-wise, it won't be all that dissimilar. Personality-wise, if Raanta or Anderson says, hey, I'm still a number one guy, you let that guy. I mean, we don't let them. They're going to be a free agent. Like, they can just leave.
They can choose to leave,
But I think you try and keep the stability there. So if I'm the GM, my initial impression would be that Raanta would be the guy I would want to bring back to back up Kochetkov as my number one.
And I guess just for the sake of covering all the bases, I'm not sure either one of them will be around next year. Even if we put the effort to put the money down for either one of them, I don't think either one of them would be with us next season.
Don has showed, right, when he let go 2 years ago, and he said, nope, we have no goalies. We're starting new. So I don't think that is an unusual, concept, or I don't think that's out in left field at all. I think that's right in Don's wheelhouse.
It kind of is, and it's a little bit better situation and not nearly as drastic, because we didn't have any goaltenders at all. Kochetkov was not on anyone's real radar. You know what I mean? It might have been on Don's radar. He may have knew what we had, that it would be okay, but it's so hard. I think contractually, Anderson would probably garner more money than it would cost more to keep than Raanta. So I think Raanta I would agree with you, Brad, that he would probably be the best one to keep in that regard. But I don't think either one of them will be back next season. And I don't want that to be, because I love them both. I cheer super hard for both of them, Freddie and Raanta. They're outstanding. Love them both for what they've given. And they put their bodies on the line. You know what I mean? Physically and health wise, they've taken some serious injuries serving this team, making our team better. I appreciate that. That's not, it's just not something that everyone else does. That's a great discussion. And again, a nice problem to have, I guess, the wealth of talent that we have. Let's talk about the rest of the road trip. We're 3 for 3 so far. Last week, Brad, I said I wanted at least 8 points out of the 6-game road trip, at least 8. And we're already 3 for 3. We've already got 6. And considering that Anaheim is the next team up, this is going to sound braggadocious, but we're going to be 4 for 4. There's no way this team loses to Anaheim. It shouldn't. I know I said that about Arizona as well.
The Coyotes are laughing at you right now.
They are laughing at me, and well, they should. The Anaheim Ducks are the worst team in the league. And if they don't get too much sunshine in California over the next 2 days, the Hurricanes are going to just boat race the Ducks right out of the... You like that, hey? Brad said I was doing that. They're going to just get rid of them. They're just going to get rid of them. It's the Ducks. Then they get to go home, sleep in their own beds. Then a huge game next Saturday. How about the Islanders? Wow. Right.
That'll be a good one.
And then the final one is the Red Wings, which we've got a little bit of history with them too. Of course, Ned's over there, and he'd likely end up being the starter against us. Just a wild guess on that. Where do you think these are going? Kerttu, we'll start with you. The road trip has been great so far. When we're looking ahead at the Ducks, the Islanders, and the Wings, what do you think? Record-wise, are we looking good? What do you want out of the rest of this road trip?
I think we are looking good now, and yeah, we definitely should beat Anaheim. And and for the we are able to win both Islanders and Red Wings, but we have to play really well to win the Islanders. I think we definitely can, and if we play we play more like last night and stay out of the box, we should be. And Red Wings is kind of hard because we should be able to beat them, but we always seem to be losing to them.
They give us trouble, don't they? Historically and lately. Yeah, 100%. You're right. I mean, I think we're good for at least 2 more points in these next few games, but it's not going to be easy. Brad, what do you think?
So we've just watched all the Mighty Duck movies and the 2 seasons of Game Changers. So my son, I think, will be vested in the Ducks game. So I think as long as the Ducks don't pull out the flying V, they should win, right? I agree with you. They should win, but we know, the Arizona 4-0 shutout game. We know that can happen,
right?
Game. So the Ducks is a trap game. Beat the teams you should beat. The Ducks should be a win. Then you go into the Islanders. Currently, the Hurricanes are 6th in the league. The Islanders are 9th. I mean, that's league wide. If you want to go to the division, the Islanders are right behind you. They're only 3 points behind. That's a game that could go either way.
It could. The
Hurricanes certainly have more than enough firepower to win that game. If they play like they played last night, they'll win. And then you go into Detroit, as Kerttu said, a team that we just, since 2002, we just always have trouble with the flipping Red Wings, right? It's always a toss-up. If you ask me which one of these 3 I thought we would lose, I would tell you the Red Wings game.
Wow.
It's just it just has that feel to it. Just always in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's the Red Wings. They always find a way. I don't know how.
They seem to, and look, they're no slouches. They're playing well, and they bring it every night, and that comes from the top, right? With Yzerman, I mean, he has expectations, just like Rod does, right? That's what made them great. expectations for effort and putting things out. Like, I think that the Red Wings are a team to watch, always be concerned with. You never take them lightly. They're not a trap game. You don't look at them like a guaranteed 2 points. Never should. They just that they're good enough for that. But it's a great situation, I think. And again, the Islanders is the one for two reasons that's going to be the hardest win. Obviously, it's one that we really, really want to win because, again, some wins are bigger than others, and it's a division. So we need them. We need those points out of them for sure. So let's win that one. And of course, win the Anaheim game. I'm not going to go so far as to say if I could only have one win, I want it to be, I want it to be the Islanders. I'm not going to say that because it would be uber embarrassing to lose to Anaheim. Even though it is true, I'm not going to say it. That's just not me. Yeah, I like where we're going, and we've got the right flow going. Everyone's working or going in the right direction. And yeah, this sounds like, we're getting more confident because we got 4 straight wins under our belt, right? So it's easy to say, oh yeah, we're gonna run right through this and we're on the way, right? I mean, it's a long season. There's ebb and flow throughout the entire season. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but this is just a segment. You want to see great stuff and the return to what we are used to as Caniacs and Jerks. Brad, we had the joy and jubilation to reach kind of a milestone for this podcast, thanks to so many great people. And yeah, okay, so I wasn't going to say that you were doing this in sick, you were sick, you were losing your mind, not, you were not yourself, and you suddenly decided you were going to give away a jersey. Like it wasn't, an illness hysteria that swept over you to give it away. That's not who you are. You're giving, you're generous, but you did it in the middle of the sickness thing. So I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, we've said a long time. I said, we hit 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
I bought an extra jersey when I bought jerseys for you and I, and we have a few out there for people who have been on the show, and why not, right? We were at like 900, and I put out and said, hey, when we hit 1,000, we're going to give away this jersey, and I'm going to give credit to Moose because it was funny. We went from 900 and change to like 950, 960 over the course of like half a day. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then Moose is like, oh yeah, this is these guys are okay. He's the okayest is what I think the quote was. And we went from 950 to 1,100 in less than 24 hours, I think. So shout out to Moose. I guess we got to invite Moose on the program now.
We absolutely do. Moose, you're up soon.
So, but shout out Brandy Sullivan won the jersey. So hopefully she'll enjoy that. I just used a random number generator and just basically had to give me a number. I went through and looked at our oldest followers to newest followers, and she was her. So I'm glad it was somebody who's been around a while. I thought that was cool.
That's awesome.
And then on top of that, some things that we shared, Spotify wrapped it. Everybody seems to have Spotify. I don't listen to music. I just don't have time. I wish I did.
Right.
But if you're a podcast, you don't get a collection of what you've listened to. You get a collection of who's listening to you. We are in the top 20% of most followed podcasts on all of Spotify. That's cool.
Wow.
In the last year, we've had the number of hours listened to of our program has gone up 700%. 488% more streams, meaning more unique listeners. 169% up on followers. Our podcast is in the top 10% most shared podcasts globally, which is kind of a double edge. It's cool we're the top 10%, right?
Yeah.
But when you think of how many podcasts are out there, like, we still might be like 10,000th or something in the list.
Oh yeah, sure,
But
sure.
hey, it's cool, I think, to just say, out of all the podcasts on Spotify, and we're the top 10% of people sharing us, because I share the links once or twice when
Yep.
the episode comes out, but everybody else are the ones sharing. 2,300 minutes of new content in the last year. That's 88% more than others in the sports category.
Wow.
So of all the podcasts in the sports category, we are giving you more content than like almost 90% of anybody else. I think that's really cool.
That is.
And then I think no big surprises. Well, one surprise here. For us, our listeners come from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada,
Yep.
Finland,
Hey,
and Australia.
Australia.
And somebody who was on our show says, "Oh, I know who listens to you in Australia." And I was like, "Oh, like we need to get them on. Like, how cool would that be?" I mean,
100%. That would
because
be outstanding.
they're gonna have to get up at like midnight to talk with us or something, because they're even further than Kerttu and those folks. So, just a huge thank you. I think success, is kind of a word that you have to use cautiously, because it means so many different things to different people. Ray, when we started this, I'm sure you remember me saying, if 10 people tune in, I'll call that a success. And as long as we're just having a good time and a couple of folks want to listen to us, great. And at this point, with the people that we get to engage with in social media, the people who listen to the show, who are retweeting the show and telling their friends about the show, clearly they're listening to it on Apple Music and on Spotify. Just a huge thank you. I've said it a million times. I will say it a million more. I think I speak for Ray and I when I say that it really helps keep us connected to the Caniacs.
It totally does. It totally does. And look, I'll say this. You were right. In the start for us, I don't, this is going to come out as maybe a slam, but really for us, for you and I, getting a chance to sit down, making a podcast, talking about the Hurricanes, kind of self-serving. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
It's just something that we love.
Right.
And we just it was just something for us to creatively talk and vent and become closer as friends. We've known each other for so long. I mean, it was really kind of a self-serving thing, but you came up with the idea, like, look, let's get more people in here. Like, we have a very unique situation as far as our friendship goes. And the idea was solid. You don't have to be in Raleigh to love this team for whatever reason. And that's why we wanted to bring people in. And it's what makes days like today so great, because we have Kerttu, who's joining us from Finland. She loves the team, ridiculously smart. She knows the game. She's proven that tonight, like today, like she knows it inside and out. And, she's a Caniac through and through. A jerk just like us. And these are the things that we like. I love to think that the storm cellar is getting crowded. We're going to have to make more room, because I want to have more. We can totally do that. And we are better when we have guests in. And Kerttu, you have made this show fantastic. We want to thank you so very much for joining us today. And you really brought the fire. It was great. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And your dedication, again, 5:30 in the morning. Beautiful. That makes me very, very happy. You're absolute Caniac through and through.
I'll stay up and watch a game till 2 a.m. I don't know if I can get up at 5:30 to watch a game.
5:30 is hard, man.
The staying up is not too hard. The getting up early is much more difficult, in my opinion.
It's so awesome. Thank you for joining us today, Kerttu.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was awesome. Brad, we've covered everything. So many things. We've got the word from Finland. We've talked about stats and what they mean and what they don't. We've gone through our hurricanes and storms and depressions. We've covered it all. Is there anything else left to say?
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Okay.
thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.